Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with some Mitsurugi Ryzeal. Someone in the comments pointed out that I haven't played this deck since Eclipse Twins came out. And yeah, I've been stuck on the Onomat version for quite a while, so decided to come back to the Mitsurugi variant. We're going to start this game rather, going first against Gem Knight. We lost the coin flip, so they made us go first here. We're going to lead during the draw phase with prayers, Mitsurugi prayers, doing that of course during the draw phase to try and dodge Troll and Lockbird. I'll tribute the Aramasa in my hand to both add Habakiri and then special summon Aramasa, just to get a level 4 body on board. Alright, we'll lead with Habakiri here. That way we don't necessarily give away that we're on Ryzeal specifically. As always, one of the biggest advantages to playing these engines like Mitsurugi or Fiendsmith is that your opponent will never know exactly what you're on until later in your combo line. So we can establish the Murakumo here. And now if they have a hand trap, we can just Murakumo it. I mean, obviously, the hand trap will still resolve, but it'll cost them an extra card from their hand. Going for Night Sword Serpent. So, I am playing a couple of the bricks here, that being Night Sword Serpent and Star Ryzeal. Those cards are actually a lot more optional than you may think. And after this play session, I might actually try playing without them. Star Ryzeal was just so glued to my opening hand. And there were a lot of scenarios where Duo Drive could have just searched across anyway, because I didn't need the second Duo Drive search that badly. And yeah, kind of same with Night Sword Serpent. Like, I'm a Ryzeal deck. I've got enough level 4 monsters, like, pretty much every game. Gonna turn my Mitsurugi monsters into IP Masquerade before I lock myself into rank 4s, using Galagranite as well to search the Nibiru. The reason that you're fine linking away your Murakumo, that probably looks really weird, right? If you're not used to playing with Mitsurugi, it's like, don't you want that on your board as part of your end board? And sometimes, yeah, you do, but since we have prayers, we can just summon it during our opponent's turn, so that should be fine. Alright, Duo Drive can pick up the other Duo Drive that X sent earlier, and now we have a material on it going through our opponent's turn and for the rest of this one, meaning that if we need to negate a monster effect, we can use Cross and detach the material from the Duo Drive. Alright, we get to make the Dugaris here as well. Yeah, this is pretty much how you do the combo line for Mitsurugi Ryzeal, right? It's the same as I was initially doing it. I'm not using the Dragalong in this build in particular, because I wanted to focus a little more on the Eclipse Twins. I mean, you could play Eclipse Twins and Dragalong in the same build if you really want to, but I decided to not go for it here. And finally, we can turn all 3 of these Ryzeal monsters into Detonator. Detonator attaches the Eclipse Twins for follow-up, set prayers, and then pass with 3 hand traps in hand as well. A beautiful turn 1. They're going to lead with Lightning Storm here. We're going to chain IP Masquerade trying to go into SP, but they're going to chain Droplet, send Max C from hand and the Lightning Storm on board in order to negate 2 of our monsters here. It's going to be IP and Detonator. Now that looks really bad, except for the fact that we have Eclipse Twins attached to Detonator, meaning Eclipse Twins will revive the Detonator, and then attach the Duo Drive to it as a material. And then Detonator can activate and then simply pick up Eclipse Twins as a material again. They're going to lead normal summon Gem Knight Nephrim, and honestly, I could have stopped this search. I could have popped the Gem Knight Nephrim. I could have done a lot of things here, but I decided to droll them. And then when they go to summon Hollow Core, I'm just going to negate the summon. Their last card in hand was Gem Armadillo, but I can activate Prayers to summon back Murakumo, and then board wipe, and of course that'll be lethal at that point. So, yeah, I think that was a very good first duel to kind of demonstrate how I've been playing and comboing with this particular variant of Mitsurugi Ryzeal. Again, it's more similar to the initial combo guide and build that I showed when Mitsurugi very first came out. But of course now we're weaving in the Eclipse Twins storyline, which as you saw adds a lot of insurance to the Ryzeal portion in particular of your end board. And then as long as you have the prayers face down, you can always just flip up that and then have Murakumo on your board as well. So even though we got hit with Lightning Storm and Forbidden Droplet, we still just had Detonator plus Murakumo for them. Alright, let's go and take a look at our next duel. Alright, so this game is going to be against Sky Striker, and this is going to be a very grindy back and forth game. I mean, you would expect it with Sky Striker, it is a control deck, but, you know, them being the control deck and us being the combo deck, we don't want a grind game here, actually, because the longer the game goes on, the more likely a control deck is to win. So I'm going to go draw phase Prayers for Habakiri. Typically, you always want to do that, so that you're playing around Joel and Lockbird, right? Because even if they droll off the Saji search, then at the very least, you can still put Murakumo on your board, right? Whereas if you go main phase, Prayers add Habakiri, and they droll you, then you can't search off of Saji and get your Mitsurugi plays going. Yeah, we got the Night Sword Serpent coming back, we got the Ritual. This hand is actually very similar to the previous one. It's going to put out a very similar end board here, given that we opened both the Prayers and the 7th Tachyon. Alright, there's Prayers, Habakiri revives, gonna link the Habakiri plus Murakumo into IP. The IP Masquerena is optional. You could go straight into Dynamundo if you wanted to. I like having the option to go into either SP or Dynamundo on the opponent's turn, though. You could also just not play any Link monsters at all. Link monsters are very optional in Mitsurugi Ryzeal, but I like having... Again, I like having the option to go IP into either SP or Dynamundo. But I think I would still, at the very least, personally play Dynamundo just to have the option. Now here, I didn't get to set up an extra material for the duo drive, which really isn't ideal, but it's also not the end of the world, because I can just set it up later with the Eclipse Twins, right? We're going to use Gallant Granite, search for the Nibiru, and then overlay Gallant Granite plus duo drive into Eclipse Twin. That way we can special node F, send Eclipse Twins, revive Sword, but more importantly, Eclipse Twins will revive the duo drive and attach the Gallant Granite to it. And then my duo drive even gets a bonus material. So now, once again, I'm set up to detach materials from the duo drive for Ryzeal Cross. Alright, gonna make Dugaris and use Dugaris to draw 2, discard 1. Funnily, I actually discarded the Nibiru I searched because I valued every other card in my hand more highly. And then yeah, we can go into Detonator. Detonator picks up Eclipse Twins as a material. We can draw a card. I probably should have done the cross draw before I discarded Nibiru, because I think I would have rather have discarded the 7th Tachyon here. Alright, they're going to go with Upstart Goblin, revealing that they're on Sky Striker. It's too bad we don't have a Joel and Lockbird here. Oh my god, Joel would go so hard in this setup. Upstart Desires Engage is pretty rough, but that's why I held on to my Ash Blossom here. Wanted to make sure I negated Engage specifically, because I want to keep them off of Sky Striker cards. Was a little scared of this triple attack, but they actually went draw 2 here, and I was just glad they didn't take my Detonator, honestly. They're going to go Normal Summon Ray, go into Kagari. To be fair, if they take my Detonator, they couldn't activate Sky Striker stuff, though. That makes sense. Gonna improve the Kagari. Again, I want to keep them off that Engage if possible. They're going to chain Widow Anchor. I'm going to chain IP. And they're going to chain another Widow Anchor on my Detonator. Now here I make a huge misplay. I detonated and popped the Kagari. That was just me not thinking. I was just not thinking at all. I should have just had Detonator pop itself. Well, because my thought process was that, okay, I can go IP. I can use IP to link off itself with the Detonator, and then I can use Eclipse Twins to revive. I just should have not have activated Detonator at all. Because now that I've popped Kagari, Imperm won't negate it. So everything that's going to follow from this point on in this game is entirely my own fault. But we live and we learn, you know? Gonna go for SP Little Knight here. And then they can add back their Engage. At the very least, because they have Detonator on board, they can't activate Sky Striker spells just yet. And I can go Little Knight effect to banish the Ray out of their graveyard. Yeah, they go to battle, but I'm going to chain Mitsurugi Prayers. They've got an Ash Blossom, which I will definitely cross out. And yeah, now I can go Prayers, revive Murakumo, pop the Detonator that's on their board. That will trigger the Eclipse Twins to then put Detonator back onto my board. So, even though I royally screwed up, as I pointed out in that first game, even if you're left with nothing, it's really easy to establish Murakumo plus Detonator regardless. It's just that, now I have to deal with this engage, and I have to deal with them actually having access to their Sky Striker engine, which is gonna... It's the reason why this duel lasted 6 turns. If I had simply not made that misplay, this duel would have probably been over on the next turn, but you know what? We're just playing on hard mode here. We're gonna give them a chance and see if we can outgrind them. So they're gonna add Linkage off Engage and then draw a card. They found another Engage. They're gonna chain Linkage. I'm actually gonna chain Detonator and pop the Engage. That way their Linkage won't resolve because they won't have a card to send for it. They do still get to add and then draw off the Engage. They're gonna go for Lemniscate. And then get the draw. Set one card, activate Lemniscate. And they're gonna chain another Linkage. So I'm gonna chain Detonator again, and I'm gonna force them to send away the face down card instead of the Lemniscate here. Unfortunately for me, they planned for that, because the face down card was actually the Black Goat Laughs, so... yeah, they seem all good with that. And they're gonna bounce the Murakumo to my hand. Alright, we're gonna use Little Knight to bounce out the Ace Zero. And the reason that I did that is because during the end phase, when Ace Zero comes back, it's gonna come back into the main monster zone. Which means they won't be able to use their Sky Striker cards right away. I think it also means... no, okay. For some reason, I thought this had to be in the EMZ to use its effect. Well, they might not have access to Ray anymore. No, they have a Ray in the yard, don't they? No, they don't. Anyway. I'm gonna go 7th attack down, search for Ice Ryzeal. This will proc them to use the Black Goat Laughs, calling Ice Ryzeal. So I'm just gonna move straight to battle phase, battling over the Ace Zero. I wonder if they intentionally didn't activate the effect in order to make their Sky Striker spells live? Or I wonder if there was another reason why they couldn't. I'm not sure, but anyway. They're going to try to use Widow Anchor to steal Little Knight. I'm going to bounce out Little Knight with the Detonator. They're going to change Shark Cannon and summon IP to their field, which is fine. It's not a big deal. Normal summon the Pillar of Future Cyanos. They're going to link the two of those off into Sky Striker Ace Azalea. Azalea does get to pop my Ryzeal Cross here. Not ideal. And then they're going to link Azalea into another Kagari. And of course, Kagari is going to add back an Engage, and then Engage can search plus draw. Looks like they're getting another Lemniscate to keep recycling their stuff and bouncing mine. Battle phase, they'll smack me for 27. Main phase 2, they'll link into Shizuku, I believe. Yeah, Shizuku. But funnily enough, they already have one of each of their Sky Striker spells in the yard, so they can't search anything off Shizuku here. End phase, my monsters come back, and I get to now summon Ice Ryzeal, special node from deck. They're going to chain Lemniscate, but they can only bounce 2 things here, and that's not enough to stop me, no matter what they bounce. So they're going to bounce SP and node. I can special node, send the Murakumo in hand, revive X, and then I'm going to go for another Detonator, because Cross is no longer on the field. Now I can control 2 Detonators. Detonator effect will pick up Eclipse Twins from the graveyard, move to battle, run over Shizuku, and then smack him directly. And now they're kind of just like in top deck mode at this point. And sure enough, they end up conceding. So, in spite of my own misplay, we actually managed to out-control a Sky Striker deck that got its entire engine going, which is kind of insane, given that, you know, again, Sky Striker is a control deck. Control decks typically are more likely to win as the duel goes on, but we were able to switch up gears with Ryzeal and play a control game ourselves. And yeah, I was kind of surprised we managed to pull that one out. Alright, let's go into one more game before I show off the deck list at the end here. Alright, this final duel is going to be just a brief one-turn game against Onomat Ryzeal. Basically, you know what? Let me see what we got here. I'm trying to remember how we open. Alright, so we got Maxi, Ash Blossom, and Nib here going into their hand. They're going to lead with the Dododo Warrior. Naturally, I'm going to fire off the Maxi, and in turn, they are going to use Called By. So, we're going to have to deal with full Onomat Ryzeal plays with only Ash Blossom and Nibiru. So, Ash Blossom in particular is going to be kind of rough to use because this deck does so much searching. We're going to go for the Dododo Dwarf effect to revive, overlay into Gagaga Girl. But that means they're just going to add the counter trap. Which I actually don't Ash Blossom the search of this. That seems a little bit weird. But my thought process is, okay, the only thing that can really stop Nibiru is Cross. And if I can just use Ash Blossom on Duo Drive to stop the Cross search, then I can nib them and not have to worry about the counter trap at all. They're going to go for the Dododo Warrior search. That's fine. They're going to add Onomatsu Kage. Then go Onomatsu Kage effect to special. Summon X Ryzeal, X Send Eclipse Twins. Now here I'm going to use the Ash Blossom on the X Ryzeal. That way we're keeping them off of their Ryzeal engine. At this point, I'm also going to fire off the Nibiru. They're going to chain Maxi, but I know they have the counter trap plus one random card in hand. So, well, two when I activated Nibiru. And of course they call by Maxi, so they don't get to use it. I feel like against Ryzeal, hand trap timing, especially Onomat Ryzeal, hand trap timing is so important. So if you've got an Ash Blossom, it might seem like something that's impossible to use, but you just have to figure out what the most important search is here. Here I was able to determine that I don't really care if they have the counter trap because I can stop that, but I need to stop them from having Ryzeal plays because I know Cross will stop my Nibiru. And then I knew Nibiru, of course, would in turn be able to stop any plays that they had. So sure enough, that's going to be a quick and easy win there. I mean, I say easy, but it really was all about timing. There were so many players who would have thrown out that Ash Blossom earlier. That would have allowed X to resolve. And then at that point, if the opponent plays right, you don't really have a good point to Nibiru, because if you nib them before the cross comes down, again, if they play right, they'll always have an extender and be able to keep comboing. And if you wait too long, then they'll have cross up and you won't be able to nib them at all. So, yeah, timing is everything when it comes to hand traps. And I just want to show that really brief game to demonstrate that. But anyway, now that I've shown those games, let me show you the deck list here. Alright, so here's my list, and it's honestly like as standard as you could get, right? 40 cards, we're playing all of the Mitsurugi and Ryzeal stuff you would expect to see. Like I said, this build in particular is not playing the, let me find Drag Along here, this card, which I was in my previous build. It's good, it's not that I dislike it, I just think it's very optional, and I wanted to try a build here that more focused on the rank 4s. I mean, it's a Ryzeal deck, it's always going to focus on rank 4s, but allowed for Eclipse Twins lines a little bit more fluidly. Like I said in that first game, or whichever game it was, I've actually kind of been considering cutting Nightsword Serpent and even also Star Ryzeal. The Star Ryzeal in particular might sound really weird to cut, but I was watching April, known 20-hour branded video content creator April, who's a very, very skilled duelist. She's incredible. I definitely recommend giving her a subscribe and a follow there. But she was playing Mitsurugi Ryzeal without Star Ryzeal, and she called it Brickless Mitsu Ryzeal. I noticed she wasn't playing the Nightsword Serpent either. So I think the next time I play this deck, I want to try cutting those cards and maybe playing more hand traps, or maybe even playing more starters like Seventh Ascensions for Tachyons or something. I don't know, but I like the idea of that. Because like I said, there's a lot of times where you can just access the cross off of Duo Drive anyway, because you don't need your second Duo Drive search. The Nightsword Serpent, like, you rarely truly need the extra level 4 body. It's nice to have, but it's truly very rare that you actually require it to be played. As far as the extra deck goes, like I said, I think that IP and SP are very optional. You could just go into Dynamundo. Dynamundo is also optional, but I like having at least that as a link option. For other rank 4s, you could play Tornado Dragon. I mean, yeah, there's any of the number of the rank 4s you could play. But alright, I think there's not much, like I said, to say about this list. It's pretty standard, so I think we're going to go ahead and end this video off here. Thank you everybody so very much for watching. As always, ever, I truly appreciate you all. And let's go ahead and move on to the outro so we can specifically thank our YouTube members and patrons. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.